So you want to master the insurance game in less time. Well, there's certain things that you need to know in order to do that. It just doesn't happen by happenstance after all. It takes a good bit of training, mentoring, and some constructive criticism. And I've got one of my DeFord Insurance Group trainers for face-to-face final expense agents on the line to help me through that process. Joe Bush, how you doing today?
Hey, I'm good. How's it going out there?
Fantastic. Good to have you, man. So Joe's going to kind of walk us through this process. Joe is in the trenches with agents every week at DeFord Insurance Group, training them to become the best they can be. And Joe has plenty of firsthand experiences seeing people who are and embody what it takes to be successful and those who don't. We've seen both sides, as Joe will get into. And the purpose of this video is really to teach you what these successful people do with the right orientations and mindsets in order to maximize their learning capacity for you and to get you into the field and selling more faster and more successfully while avoiding the pitfalls. So Joe, just give us, first of all, to start with a little bit of an overview about yourself, just very briefly about who you are, where you're from, how you got into the business and working with us.
Yeah, so my name is Joe Busalacchi. I've been in the business for 5 years. I started off with the DeFord Insurance Group. Before that, I had almost 15 years in call center experience, management, and telemarketing in general. Got into the face-to-face game. I started off from the jump. I started off pretty good, had some struggling going on for a couple of years. And then what ended up happening was it dawned on me one day that I need to follow Dave's system to a T. I started doing that and my money started tripling and quadrupling. So I am definitely a testament of someone who kind of fell off took a bad ramp off the highway of the system, got back on, and it was a pretty quick fix. So here I am.
Yeah, so I think I can say for both of us, like what we're going to recommend here today is nothing that we haven't firsthand experienced as agents ourselves. I mean, part of getting good at this business is making all the mistakes so you know what the mistakes are, and then therein lies what's left. You know, the right things, the few right things. So, let's start it like this. So we bring agents in every week. And pretty much everybody on the call here or those watching YouTube, they want to be successful, right? I mean, let's just face it. We all get into the business of insurance because we want to make a lot of money, but most people don't. Most people fail the business. So there's this disconnect between what people want and the process to get it. And what we think, of course, is proper training, support, et cetera, is really the pathway to get it. And I'd like to break this down in the case and thinking of those people who are watching to help make that connection, to avoid the statistic of 95% of people failing out and having some practical guidelines to get them from point A where they're at to point B where they want to go, which is making money consistently in the business. So Joe, what I want to ask you to get started as a new agent, what are some things that new agents really need to do? So let's say they've decided they want to do final expense, or they decide on their insurance product. Really doesn't matter if it's final expense or not. What are some, anywhere you want to start here, because I know there's several, what are some big picture things that they need to really get aligned right from the get-go to give them the best chances of success?
Yeah, good question. So I think essentially the things that agents need to do in the beginning are the things that agents need to do for pretty much the most of their career. So there are three big keys, like the three keys to success that if someone sticks to this, I truly think they can just get to a point where they are just consistently making money. So, okay, number one, you have to buy leads every week. You have to buy fresh, exclusive leads every week. And furthermore, not every lead is a lead. In this day and age, I will say you need to buy premium price leads, $30, $35 a lead, $40 lead. Like you can't expect to be successful and buy $7 leads. I don't care what the lead vendor says. Okay. So you need to buy leads every week, rain, sleet, or snow. If you have a bad week, you still buy leads. You don't skip a week because you had a bad week and you want to chase down a bunch of old leads. You need to keep your inventory rolling. So that's the first one. You need to buy leads every single week. Second one, you have to do the activity. You have to have the work ethic in this business. So what does that mean for a full-time agent who wants to make a 6-figure income. That's going to mean you're going to work 50 hours a week or more. 40 hours a week, I don't think it's going to cut it. You're going to have to do 50 hours. And furthermore, when you go out to the field 5 days a week, 6 days a week, you need to spend a lot of field days being out there well into the evening. You need to be, your last door knock needs to be 7:30 at night. It needs to be, you get into a house at 7:30. You close a deal, you're driving home at like 9:30, man. So am I saying every single field day you have to be a night crawler? No, but let's say out of 5 field days a week, you're out there 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day. 3 out of those 5, you need to be out there well into the evening. And I go through it from experience because I actually had a fall off in my career where I was doing well. And I started coming home for supper every day at 6 o'clock. And even though I started really early, I was putting the same amount of work because I got up bright at the break of dawn and got out there. My numbers were not the same as when I started in the later morning, 10:30, 11-ish, and stayed out there till 9 p.m. It wasn't the same thing, even though the number of hours were mathematically the same. So work activity, 50 plus hours, 3 out of 5 days, you need to be out there well into the evening. And then here's the other big one that, especially as a new agent, you need to really ramp up on. It's the training. And remember, we are sales athletes. NFL players, NBA players, Major League Baseball, they practice and train the rest of their lives. I don't care if you're a superstar, man. You need to practice. So to keep it simple, 3 ways to really practice is rehearse the scripts over and over again. Yeah, maybe you memorized everything. You're a couple of years in the business. You need to still go over scripts. You need to listen to the videos. What's great about Dave's agency? Plethora of videos, man. Inside the agency and on YouTube. You need to constantly be listening to this stuff. It's just going over the fundamentals. And 3, read a book. Read a book that the agency recommends. Dave has tons of books that he recommends. So let me just do an overview. Buy leads every week, rain, sleet, or snow. Do the activity 50 hours plus work well into the evenings, most field days. And 3, train. Rehearse scripts, watch the videos, read a book. I truly think that if someone keeps it that simple and doesn't deviate and just is more of like a student of the system and doesn't worry and cares about the activity, doesn't like worry about the money so much, they will make the money will just come. I truly believe that.
So let's break down some of this because this is simple.
Yeah.
And it really is all true. You get the right leads, you do the right activity, and you apply yourself consistently through training and support. But let's go break down each one of these because I think thinking from the standpoint, many people watching this are newer. A lot of these terminologies may be newer to them. So I want to make sure that we fully explain things because many people find out about a lot of this, like you and I, through just experience. It's like, what do you mean all leads aren't the same, right? So I think having a little conversation about that to start with would be good. So you mentioned things like exclusive leads or premium leads. There's different kinds of leads out there, guys. Can you explain and we can use final expense. It's true for any insurance product that require some sort of leads. What is it about leads that we should be concerned with and why aren't they all the same?
Okay. 1, you need to buy from a vendor that's giving you exclusive leads. What's exclusive? That means when a prospect either fills out a form or if they send out like a card in the mail, a digital, I don't care what it is. When they submit the form and request the info, it needs to go to only you only. It doesn't get resold by 2 agents, 3 agents. It doesn't get spread around over a 30-day period. No, you get the lead that is your lead. And it needs to be fresh. What that means is as soon as they request the info, it goes to you ASAP. If it's a direct mail card, if they're sending a card in the mail requesting info, it gets sent out in the mail. You get it within the next week or so, couple weeks, okay? If it's a digital lead, as soon as they click the submit form button, it needs to go to you via email or via text message. It needs to be fresh. Age leads are not what people make money off of. Now, if you are low on cash, then maybe you can get some age leads. I don't really recommend them, but at the end of the day, age leads are just a means to an end. What's the means? To drum up some money so you have a budget so you can buy some fresh leads and really be in the game. So you need to buy fresh, exclusive leads.
Let's hit on this a couple, because I'd like to give my perspective here too on the topic. Number one, here's the thing, guys. This all makes sense. None of what Joe is talking about here is like monumental. I mean, it might be if you've been in an age lead environment, you're like, wow, there's leads that just, yeah, there are, and you should be working them, you'd make more money. However, here's the thing. Most of you are new here, and what you don't realize is that what we're talking about is not the norm. It's logical. It should be the way it is, but it's not the norm. Most of you are probably looking at MLMs or have been approached by MLMs, multi-level marketing companies, and their lead system ain't fresh, ain't exclusive. There's one particular 3-letter MLM, which will go nameless because they'll cease and desist me. They literally sell you pennies on the dollar, cheap names out of a phone book equivalent. And they resell them for $10 a piece. And then they don't just sell them once, they sell them like 4 or 5 times. And so they take something that the acquisition cost to get the lead is like a quarter, probably less, and they make $50 off of it. And you might be thinking, well, they're a business, Dave. They make a lot of money. It's good for them. That's right. It's good for them, but is it good for you? The answer is hell no. You're working leads that don't know what they did, don't remember what they did, and probably never actually requested it. And so while you struggle and get frustrated throwing thousands of dollars at some system that doesn't do what it was supposed to, they're banking millions a week, millions in pure profit off of you and your ignorance. Unfortunately, this is how we all are getting started. You don't want to be in that position, guys. And this is why it's important that regardless of where you work, you're working with the leads that are fresh, that are exclusive, developed recently, never resold again. It's not the only thing, Joe, and Joe, we'll get to training because it's not just about leads. It's leads are important. But if everything else holds true and you got to work a bunch of garbage that was made years ago versus fresh exclusive leads, the guy or gal working fresh exclusively is going to make more money and probably have a higher success rate over time, have a less stress level too, because boy, it's frustrating talking to people who don't remember filling that card out back in 2015. You know, and trust me, it happens all the time. And then let's talk about this too. I think this is important. Bi-weekly, if you could briefly describe why that is so important.
Because you need to have new inventory. So it is one of the best problems to have in this business is too many people to see. So when I was out in the field full time on a regular basis, after I bought my leads, I would have anywhere from 5 leads to 12 leads that just were not resolved. Maybe I door knocked them and they didn't answer. There might have been a chance I didn't even door knock them. Did I resolve all of my leads and chase after every single one until I was done and then buy leads? No. I don't care how many leads I had unresolved. I'm going to buy leads again, because if I'm making money, who cares if I don't resolve all the leads? Right. That's why it's so important. And then here's the other thing too, is that this final expense animal, like, you're going to have bad weeks. You're going to have good weeks. It's not going to just be this consistent every week is the same numbers thing. You can look at your numbers after 3 months or 6 months and you'll see some real consistency. But the bottom line is, even if you have all your stuff together, you're going to have better weeks than others. Some week you might barely break even. You might lose money. You can't let that phase you. You need to keep buying leads. It's like any business, you need to keep having inventory. So that's why it's so important.
Yeah. And here's the thing. You just have to stay busy, right? And there are some actions that you do that aren't as effective or as primary of concern as others. And here's the thing. Yes, you could chase leads and resolve every one of those, but we know statistically that after a certain percentage of working leads, the added effort it takes to get to the remaining amount is better used on fresher leads that more likely will pick up the phone, invite you in, sit down and talk to you. So while we want to work the leads entirely, what we don't want to do is squeeze or feel like in order before we buy another set of leads, we got to squeeze the juice out of every last one of these. So there's an extent to where that's true, but then beyond a point, it's better just to buy fresh leads and then to have a better chance to use your time more judiciously and better. So long story short, set your lead order up on a weekly recurring basis. Don't worry if you're not to the end of the list that you have. Worst case scenario, you just skip a week if you're really that busy with leads. But how often does that really happen in the business? Rarely. Usually most people have the other problem, which is too few people to see, which is what happens if you don't order on a consistent weekly basis. So number 2 on the list here is doing the activity. Here's the thing. This is not a job. You know, this is a business. I think that's helpful for everybody here, no matter how it is you're getting paid and what you're doing. It's helpful to think about this business as a business. It's not a job. And the reality of our clients is that they are available for many agents. Prime time is after 2 o'clock till 8 o'clock or 9. And if all you do is work regular job hours, 9 to 5, you're missing out on a huge opportunity to sell a lot of people. And you have to put that time in. And what I have found too, Joan, you can speak on this too. The agents that put in the bare minimum get what? The bare minimum, right? And you really have to think about this business as an all-out investment of your time. You have to put the hours in. You can't get home at 4 or 5 every night and expect to make a wild amount of money. Maybe over the long haul after you paid the dues, right? And you develop this street cred and experience. But very commonly in the beginning, you got to put in the time up front. Joe, you got any comment on that?
Yeah, this is just not a business, folks, where you're going to work 40 hours and call it a day. I will dare to say, if you want to work 40 hours, you got to go clock in and clock out somewhere, and maybe just sacrifice some of maybe have some money problems just to be able to clock in and clock out. I don't know, but there is definitely a connection to working well into the evening and making more money. I can go on theories of why I think that is. You know, more people are home. You know, in final expense, even though a lot of people are retired, you're still going to find people that aren't home until the evening. You find people that are under 62 that still work. Those are some good deals right there. You find people that, you know, maybe people don't want to answer the door during business hours because they know it's campusers. All of a sudden, somebody knocks on the door at 7 p.m. They want to know who's knocking on my door right now. You know what I mean? The answer rate is better. But I just know that I made this mistake. I was working evenings, and then I agreed to come home for supper every night. And my numbers went down, and I couldn't even put my finger on it. I said, man, I'm doing the same thing. I'm working the same system. But the difference was I was going home. I would be home by 6:30. If I was an hour away from my house, I would stop knocking on doors at 5 p.m. It messed me up. So you have to work the hours. And here's the thing too, I want to close with this part too, is that you have to have a big appetite in this business. It's easy to make some money early in the day and say, man, I made $1,000. I made $2,000. I'm going to go home. It's like 4 o'clock. I had a good day. But you know what? You need to keep pushing. Why do you need to keep pushing? Because what about the next day where you don't make no money? Because that's going to happen, you know, or you make a little bit of money. So you have to be structured. You have to continue to have an appetite. You have to work well into the evening. I just can't say it enough. 50 plus hours, man. Working into the evenings. You have to submit to this stuff. You have to submit to it.
And the other side of that too is you want to make sure that you are really going that extra mile. I think this is just a good reminder. The agent that feels like quitting, but still goes to the next door to knock on the next door and does that on a consistent basis, they're the ones that are going to find the most money. They're the ones that are going to close the most deals, right? To do the extra little things that seem inconsequential, that seem like they don't matter, they actually add up and make an outsized exponential result. Case in point, I had 15 appointments in a row in Crossville, Tennessee. Nobody bought. I was about to jump off the ledge. And then I wanted to go home because I was so distraught with the lack of results. And then that final appointment, that Tuesday evening, I wrote $4,000 in premium. And had I not just kept enduring the pain, I wouldn't have done it. But it's those little things, those little tiny things that on paper don't look like it's a big deal, make an exponential difference. So you have to embrace always going a little bit further than you're comfortable with in everything. That's how you make an outsized return on this business. And the last thing here is training. What doesn't kill you does make you stronger. So that is true. The last thing I want to hit on here is training. And Joe, I want you to specifically speak on, I know you believe in the power of this as well as I do, and I've kind of been converted because I didn't really believe it was that important. The power of one-on-one mentorship. DeFord Insurance Group, that is where we plant our flag. That's where we do what I think makes a profound difference in the outcomes of our agents and other agencies. Talk a little bit about the importance of implementing mentorship and role plays and what can come out of a mentorship-oriented training model for agents.
I sure wish I had a mentor when I first started this 5 years ago. Like, I mean, someone that was like holding me accountable every other day, like someone that was making me structured. And don't get me wrong, we're not micromanaging around here, but we're being mentors. We want to hold people accountable, but it's the methodical way that I and the other trainers are able to break down everything. It's the just access to someone while you're out in the field navigating through all this stuff, because we do prep up in the beginning, but then there's also course correction as you're out in the field. But the one-on-one mentorship is just so key to get you on track, to get you to understand the entire presentation, to break down the script, to break down the pre-qualifying, to tell you what you need to do exactly to make these deals, to have the support when you're in a home and you need help with underwriting and doing application processes. And that stuff will come, that stuff kind of just falls into place as you go by anyways, but just the script rehearsing, the script correction, and knowing what is truly important, because I think it seems overwhelming when you get in this business. You see a lot of stuff, you're doing a lot of stuff, you're signing up with carriers, you're doing this and that, and everything kind of, it's like you got this big old thing in front of you and you don't know exactly what's priority, what's this and that, what do I need to stay away from, what do I need to focus on. This is where the mentorship keeps you in the straight and the narrow. And I will say, just like David said before, like, I may not be at times the most encouraging and motivational individual. I can be, but you know what I want to do? I want to set somebody straight. I want to set somebody straight so they're not the other 95% of people that fail out in this business. I want to show them the straight and narrow path. You know, broad is the road to failure in this business. There's a straight and narrow path to lead you to success. Us mentors over here, everything is set up to get you in that straight and narrow path. That's where it's at.
You know, and it's interesting. It took me a long time to accept this. We've always had really good training at the Ford Insurance Group, but I never really embraced the intimacy. When I say intimacy, I mean like the hands-on, custom tailored approach to mentorship that we do have now. Because I thought, well, you know, there's videos, there's scripts, there's directions. If you just follow the system, you'll be fine. And that's true for a minority of people. And there's a bunch of people that will never make it into this business no matter what you do, for sure. But there's this middle group of people that can struggle in this business for years on end, convinced that they're doing everything right. And if they had one mentor, if they had somebody sit down and listen to their calls, listen to them role play, and address something that they are unaware of, it would change everything. It sounds silly, but that is what mentorship and coaching is for. It's to make you aware of the things you're unaware of. And I've seen it for years. Agents who think they're doing right, but don't know what's wrong. They don't know where to even start. They don't even know that there's anything wrong because there's not anybody having them challenge them on their preconceived notions or getting them to think. And that's where I think what we do, and I can only speak for what we do, because there's frankly not a lot of other organizations do anything like our one-on-one mentorship. But it really allows us to overcome this learning curve issue a lot faster, because our guys tell you, hey, here's what's important. Focus on this, right? We give you homework. We tell you what to do. We quiz you on it in the sense of making sure that you're actually adhering to this and being accountable. And what happens is the agents are more successful because of it, more so than if they were to figure this stuff out on their own. And the last thing I'll say in this before we wrap it up is there's never really been a time, I think, in this business where the confusion factor is at its highest. I was blessed with not having engagement on any serious level in social media when I first started. I didn't have Facebook groups and YouTube channels that were telling me one thing, but then a dozen others were telling me something else. That is in many ways leading a lot of agents inadvertently astray. Not that there's no value in any of this stuff, there is, but there's something to be said about having one person, one approach to whom you're accountable for, to help you put blinders on and to focus on the one way of doing things that's fundamentally sound and proven to work. It just takes so much of the overwhelm out. And there's a lot of agents that unnecessarily fail because they try all these different strategies, and before they know it, they're out of money. So you got to be aware of that. And I think this is where mentorship and mastering this business really accelerates things. So long story short, thanks, Joe, for being here. Again, buy fresh and exclusive leads, put in the activity over and above the basics or the minimum, and make sure you're getting substantial amounts of coaching and training. It is the difference maker. If you guys want to learn more about David DeFord, want to learn more about DeFord Insurance Group, go to daviddeford.com, click the FAQ link at the top, and read about what we're looking for in agents who want to partner with us. Joe, thanks for being here.